This interview with Helen Lewis and Jordan Peterson is a perfect example. It's a masterclass in how to deal with a hostile interviewer who's laying a trap.
How much responsibility do you feel that you have, particularly guys at the AltRight, who, as you say, some of them have enjoyed your work, and say,
No,
I'm not one of you guys. I'm not with you guys.
They haven't enjoyed my work.
I've definitely read bits on the internet.
Read more.
You have an outcome that you believe to be true, and you are going to try and prove that that outcome is correct.
Okay.
Find some evidence. I'm extraordinarily sick and tired of this particular accusation / line of questioning.
This is not an interview. This is a high-stakes game being played with the goal of reputation destruction.
She was hostile to me the second I walked into the room.
Really?
Yes, and that really kind of put me off.
How so?
Well, she basically told me that we were going to have a war.
It's a perfect example of minimum force in all things. Do not go beyond what is necessary. And there's a point in this interview, she actually asks him directly a question about anger.
Do you think you'd be less angry if you went on Twitter? That's something I think quite a lot.
And he pulls back, and then he maintains that for the rest of the interview.
Oh, I think there's no doubt about that. Yeah.
I think she underestimated you. I think she misinterpreted who you are, and she thought that she could come at you with this straw man sort of article and argument, rather, and frame your positions in a very unflattering way. It just didn't work.
He is different in this from Cathy Newman. I think it's worn on him a bit, and his demeanor is more serious here.
I'm no fan of the identitarian right, the ethno-nationalists, the alt-right. First of all, what do you mean by alt-right exactly? Do you mean ethno-nationalists? Do you mean white supremacists?
No, I mean people who are on the right but have got their power base outside the traditional media. They see themselves as an alternative.
Does that mean anyone on the right who's on YouTube is alt-right? According to your definition, according to your logic, it would.
It's a pretty loose definition of the alt-right.
Of Rush Limbaugh kind of talk radio, right? People who see themselves in opposition to an
Rush
establishment.
Limbaugh is not the alt-right.
She is here with a mission. When you can feel when someone is trying to corner you and take you down.
There was palpable enmity in the air right to begin with. And, when I actually thought at the end of that interview, I thought, geez, maybe I've done enough interviews, because I found that I was more impatient than I would have liked to have been.
And it does take a toll. So we do see a different demeanor here.
So she'd already formulated who I was in her imagination.
Right.
And it was also maybe a form of projection. So like I was the embodiment of all the things that she found distasteful.
I think it is extremely smug and complacent to think civilization has peaked, it's all upwards from here.
Yeah, well, good luck with that.
One of the things he's trying to do is articulate the fact that we are so fortunate today. We do have it better than at any point in history.
It's a living. There are lots of people who agree with me. There are lots of people clearly who agree with you.
There are just a lot of people, I would say, who are coming to listen to what I say because they're sick and tired of having their desire to move forward in the world and to achieve something and to take their place as adult males, let's say, who are under the weight of accusations that their ambition and forthrightness is a manifestation of something that's fundamentally tyrannical.
There's these two opposing ideas around power. One is power is tyrannical, which it can be, but that's very different than power through competency. And I think it's foolish to discourage students to recognize that there is a power in competency. And that's what Jordan Peterson refers to when he talks about the purpose of college, learning to teaching students to be able to think and speak and articulate oneself, and that makes you dangerous, that makes you it gives you this competency, and there's a power in that. It's different than tyranny.
It's really a terrible thing to do to young men, and it's happening all the time. That's why they're bailing out of universities like mad. There won't be a man left in the social sciences in 10 years in the universities, and it's no bloody wonder. It's an unhospitable place, and it's unhospitable precisely because of this doctrine. It said that throughout history, the fundamental relationship between men and women was one of power, essentially slavery. It's like, fine, believe it if you want.
It's interesting that people that seem to push postmodern thinking, those people tend to be the ones that at the same time claim that postmodernism is not really worth talking about.
What we're really talking about is some irritatingly postmodern professors and some students with blue hair and funny ideas about gender in a handful of courses around America and
If that's what we were
Western
talking
Europe.
about, no one would have paid attention to me for more than about 15 minutes.
They're the very people that, in the same breath, claim that no one is questioning objective truth.
Really today is arguing, apart from maybe 3 mad Marxist academics, that there is no such thing as hierarchy.
Oh, there are plenty of them are arguing that.
Really? Because I see that almost never in the wild.
And then a few minutes later, you are going to criticize hierarchies yourself as needing to be more equitable in their outcomes.
I see people think that hierarchy should be based on merit and
What
they
do
should
you
be
think?
more
What do you
equal.
think the demand for equality of outcome is if it's not an attempt to flatten hierarchies or to eliminate them? What else could it possibly be? And you don't think the neo-Marxists and the postmodernists think that hierarchy is a social construction? Like, you're not talking about the same people that I know,
Right.
that's for sure.
But this-
Everything's a social construction for the social constructionists, including hierarchies.
But I just don't think that is a very widely held view in the world.
And you can't see it occurring because it's not in front of you. It's like, it's you. She starts talking about this Burmese woman as though she's a defender.
And I did a panel a while ago with Zagar, a Burmese comedian who was imprisoned for making a joke.
People that are proposing the ideas that lead to comedians being arrested are the ones who claim that it is not occurring.
Who was imprisoned for making a joke, right? And we are not yet at that stage. I think undoubtedly I get...
We're not. We're damn close.
Really?
Look, in England, people are getting arrested for Facebook posts now.
Really?
How about the guy with the pug in the UK?
Count Dankula.
That's the one.
Right, but he did actually, I mean...
He did actually what?
He did actually, I mean,
That was a joke.
I
You might not have liked it. I didn't say it was a good joke. I didn't say it was an appropriate joke. I didn't say any of that. I didn't say it was a well thought through joke. But it was a joke.
But was that really a joke? I didn't think it was very funny.
Yeah, I just fundamentally don't believe that it was a joke. I believe that it was camouflaged as a joke, and that's what it kind of comes across.
Right.
And I
Well,
believe
that's
that
exactly what you would believe if you were inclined to persecute comedians.
It has to be funny. If it's not funny, then you'll get arrested. So who gets to decide whether or not a joke is funny?
No, I'm not inclined to persecute someone.
Well, you're inclined to persecute him.
I don't think he's a comedian.
That justifies someone being arrested because it doesn't fall within the category of comedy?
I would have to go and look at the circumstances of that case, but I think
He didn't like his girlfriend's pug and thought he would teach it to do something reprehensible as a joke.
It's shocking that this logic is even being.
Modern marriage has a lot to recommend it. I do also think it is a patriarchal institution. It is literally
Of course you think that.
Well-
because you think virtually everything that occurs in our society is a patriarchal institution. And it's easy to think that because then you only have to think one thing.
You could
have a one-thing answer for everything.
You could let
it's like
me-
it's part of the patriarchal institution.
I don't think
It's
you're
like-
obeying the rule that says maybe treat people as if they have something worth hearing. So
I'm not making a case for the patriarchal tyranny.
I'm gonna
and
make
I
it-
don't think you are either.